Have you ever felt that sense of dread when another news alert pings on your phone?
Oh,
It
yeah.
just feels like
Right.
every headline, every story,
Yeah,
it's pushing us further into crisis.
definitely.
And that constant stream of negativity, all the doom and gloom, it really takes a toll, doesn't it, on your mental health?
It does. It feels like you're just bracing yourself all the time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just waiting for the next bad thing.
It's a really common feeling. But, what if I told you that focusing on positive information, really soaking it in, could actually benefit you?
Yeah.
Like profoundly.
Benefit how?
Emotionally, physically, mentally. It could actually contribute to a happier, healthier life. Is there, a way out of that negativity cycle, or are we just stuck managing it?
That's a huge question. And it's exactly what we want to unpack today in this deep dive.
Okay.
We're diving into a really interesting source, The Power of Good News by Hal Urban.
Ah, Hal Urban.
Yeah.
Great choice.
He's an award-winning teacher, an author, and his own story is kind of key here. He grew up in actually a pretty negative environment himself.
Right.
But he was really influenced by positive thinkers, people like Augmentino, Napoleon Hill.
It's the classic.
Totally. And his teaching philosophy was always, if you can reach him, you can teach him. That really shaped his whole career.
Yeah.
But here's the kicker. The idea for this book,
Yeah.
it came from his own high school students.
Yeah.
They just made this simple, brilliant suggestion: focus on the good news for a change.
Wow. From the students themselves. That's powerful.
Isn't it?
So that's really our mission today then, to explore how feeding your mind with positive input consistently can genuinely improve your well-being and maybe even give you a more accurate fact-based view of the world.
A more accurate view. Interesting.
Yeah, because the core idea, the thing we'll keep circling back to, is pretty straightforward. You are what you feed your mind.
Okay, you are what you feed your mind. Let's start there. But first, we have to acknowledge this pull towards the bad news, right? It feels almost automatic sometimes,
It really does.
like we're drawn to it. Why is that?
Well, our brains are absolutely wired that way. It's called a negativity bias.
Negativity bias.
And it's not just some fuzzy concept. Your brain literally acts like an alarm system. There's this tiny part, the amygdala. It's like a little watchdog.
The amygdala.
And it uses something like 2/3 of its cells just scanning for negativity, for threats. And it stores that negative stuff in long-term memory.
So it remembers the bad stuff better.
Exactly. Which, makes sense for early humans. Think about needing to spot that hungry beast hiding in the bushes. Survival depended on it.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
But today, Rick Hansen, he's a neuropsychologist, points out that this wiring can actually lead to excessive negativity, even just grumpiness.
Huh. Yeah, I can see that.
And Loretta Bruning, another PhD, puts it really well. Our brains are predisposed to go negative, so to be healthy, we need to seek out the positives around us. We have to actively look for them.
So if our brains are already leaning negative, how does the media landscape play into that? Or maybe exploit it?
Oh, it's definitely exploited. It's quite deliberate, actually.
Right.
Yeah, the news media figured out a long, long time ago, if it bleeds, it leads.
Ugh, that old saying.
It's true, though. Media businesses need eyeballs, right? Viewers, readers, advertisers. And they found that negativity, anger, sensationalism, it sells. Big time.
So good news just doesn't cut it.
Apparently not as much. I mean, think about it. You might get, a 30-second feel-good story at the very end of the news?
Yeah, the little kicker segment.
Right, like a Girl Scout helping someone cross the street. It feels like an afterthought after 29 minutes of heavy stuff.
So what's the actual cost? All this negative input, day after day, what does it do to us?
It really takes a toll, a big one. There was this American Psychological Association survey back in 2018. Over half the people surveyed said news consumption made them feel anxious, fatigued, even lose sleep.
Over half. Wow.
Yeah. And Markham Hyde, writing for Time, he observed that, look, staying informed is important, obviously, but how we get news now, it's often not good for our mental or physical health.
Physical health, too.
Absolutely. Dr. Davy talks about how negative news impacts your mood, sure, but also your perception of risk and even your physical health. Think stress hormones like cortisol.
Cortisol. Yeah.
Constant stress, constant cortisol. It's linked to inflammation, all sorts of diseases. And political news especially. That can really ramp up frustration, division, and sometimes it just brings out the worst,
Yeah, definitely feels that way sometimes.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a pretty bleak picture of how the news cycle affects us. But there has to be a counter movement, right? A way to shift things. Hal Urban talks about this moment he had.
He does. It was back in the early 70s at a workshop with Zig Ziglar.
Zig Ziglar, okay.
Yeah.
What happened?
Well, Ziglar's message was powerful but simple. You are what you are because of what goes into your mind.
Okay, echoing that core idea again.
Exactly. And he used this amazing analogy. He asked the audience, would you let someone haul a 50-pound bag of trash into your living room and just dump it there?
No, definitely not.
Right. Of course not. Then he hit them with the real zinger. So why do you let just anyone dump trash into your mind?
Oof. Yeah, that hits home.
That was the light bulb moment for Hal. He realized he just wasn't paying enough attention to the quality of what he was consuming mentally.
So did Ziglar just leave them with that thought, or did he give them tools?
Oh, he gave them tools. Absolutely. He had them break into groups, reflect on things like who or what puts information into your mind? How much time do you spend with each source? Which ones are healthy? Which are unhealthy?
Getting practical. I like it.
Very practical. And he had this postcard exercise, too, with 6 questions designed to help people really take control. Like, how can you eliminate the unhealthy stuff? How can you increase the healthy input? The core idea was agency. You can change who you are by changing what goes into your mind.
Taking control. And that idea that what we feed our minds has such a profound impact. It plays out in really stark ways, doesn't it? You see these extreme examples.
You really do. Think about, tragically, how a child can be turned into a terrorist. The UNODC handbook talks about this. Constant indoctrination with hateful messages.
Just relentless negative input.
Exactly, especially when they're young and vulnerable. The more they hear it, the more likely they are to believe it and act on it. It's heartbreaking.
It is, but then you have the complete opposite.
Right, like the story of Billy, this
Yeah.
angry, troubled 4th grader who ended up becoming an award-winning teacher.
How did that happen?
Consistent love, kind words, encouragement, positive experiences.
Yeah.
All from caring adults. Hal Urban highlights this 5 loving people essentially changed what was going into Billy's mind. He became who he is because of that positive shift.
Wow. So those inputs really shaped his entire life trajectory.
Completely. And what really stands out in both those examples is the power of choice. Maybe not the child's choice initially, but the choices made by those influencing them.
Right.
J. Martin Kohei, a psychologist, said, the greatest power that a person possesses is the power to choose.
The power to choose.
And Dr. Wayne Dyer said something similar. We are the sum total of our choices. Jim Rohn put it really practically. Every day, stand guard at the door of your mind.
Stand guard at the door of your mind. I like that image.
It highlights that, yeah, we can't control everything that comes at us, but just being more aware of our power to choose, that lets us screen out a lot of the harmful stuff and let in more of the good.
And that idea, that awareness, actually led to Hal's own discovery in his classroom, right? He called it dumb luck.
Yeah, sort of stumbled into it. His high school students were just fed up with the constant negativity in their current events discussions.
I can imagine.
So finally, Hal's just asked them, okay, who has good news? Simple question.
Yeah. What happened?
Well, one student, Sandy, shared this really touching story about some healing happening in her family. And Hal said it just opened the floodgates of positivity.
Floodgates. Wow.
Yeah, the whole atmosphere in the classroom just shifted. It warmed up, brightened. You could feel it immediately.
So it wasn't just a one-time thing. This good news time did it sick.
Oh, it totally stuck. It became a regular thing almost daily. And the impact was huge, long-lasting even. One student, Shannon Seeley, she kept up the practice for decades in her own life and work.
Decades? That's amazing.
Isn't it? And surprisingly, it worked just as well with Hal's adult students at university. Many were like stressed out Silicon Valley professionals.
You wouldn't necessarily expect that audience to jump on board.
Right. But they did. One guy, Jamal, was super enthusiastic about it right away. And years later, Hal got an email from another former student, Josephine, basically saying, you need to write a book about this good news stuff. She convinced him that good news does sell.
Huh. Proof is in the pudding.
Exactly. It just helped people notice and appreciate the good things already around them instead of taking them for granted.
You know, all this focus on bad news, it really can warp our perception. Makes us feel like the world's just constantly falling apart.
It really can. It creates this skewed perspective.
But if you actually step back and look at the bigger picture, especially over, say, Hal Urban's lifetime, the progress is kind of staggering, isn't it?
It absolutely is. Take education, for example. When Hal was born, back in 1940, the U.S. high school graduation rate was only around 51%.
Only half. Wow.
Yeah. Now, it's closer to 84%. And think globally, the opportunities for girls to get an education, that's just exploded compared to then.
That's a huge difference. What about other areas? Health.
Oh, massive changes. Hal talks about being terrified of polio as a kid.
Yeah, that was a real fear back then.
Totally. Now, thanks to things like the Salk vaccine, it's basically eradicated in most of the world. U.S. life expectancy has jumped from around 62 then to nearly 80 now. Medical advances are just incredible.
And technology. I mean, that's an obvious one.
Huge. Hal grew up with phones where you needed an operator to connect your call.
Hard to even imagine
No,
how.
wait. Now we've got these supercomputers in our pockets that run our lives. Cars, tools, everything's improved so dramatically. Younger generations just take it for granted, you know?
True. We forget how different things were.
And it's not just tech. Think quality of life, child labor, dramatically reduced, incomes, generally rising despite ups and downs, murder rates in the U.S., way down from their peak, travel is safer, rates for marginalized groups have expanded enormously, access to food and water is better globally. Even things like bullying are being addressed more seriously. Homeownership is up, teen pregnancies down. The list goes on.
When you list it like that, it really paints a different picture than the daily headlines.
Exactly. It's a fact-based picture of progress.
But even knowing these facts, it's still so easy to slip into that good old days thinking, isn't it? That nostalgia trap.
Oh, totally. It's very seductive. But thinkers like Hans Rosling in his book Factfulness and Steven Pinker, the Harvard psychologist, they really push back against that.
How so?
They point out how selective our memory is. Take the 1950s, often held up as this idyllic happy days era.
Right, Leave It to Beaver and all that.
Exactly. But Pinker reminds us, yeah, there was a post-war boom, rock and roll was emerging, but there were also huge hidden realities.
Like what?
Widespread, blatant racial discrimination, nearly 37,000 Americans killed in the Korean War, much higher smoking rates, LGBTQ plus people forced into secrecy, way worse poverty than today, generally speaking, and vastly limited opportunities for women.
Okay, yeah. Not quite the perfect picture nostalgia paints.
Not at all. The reality is, for most people, life today is generally better, safer, and offers more opportunities than in those supposed good old days. It's important to remember the facts, not just the feelings.
So, okay, getting a more accurate worldview is one benefit of focusing on good news. But what about the science? Does consuming positive stuff actually do anything measurable to us?
Oh, absolutely. There's a whole field of happy hormone research.
Happy hormones, like serotonin.
Exactly. Serotonin, dopamine, endorphins, oxytocin, the feel-good chemicals. Consuming positive information has been shown to actually boost levels of these.
Really?
Yeah, and it reduces stress and anxiety, too. There was a study by Jessica Harrell back in 2000. People who viewed good news actually reported lower anxiety levels afterwards. It had a clear positive effect.
So it's not just wishful thinking, it's biochemical.
Pretty much. And the list of benefits goes on. Improved mood, better mental and physical health, a more positive outlook overall, increased energy, better productivity, feeling more grateful, having stronger relationships, more hope for the future, and, yeah, ultimately increased happiness.
That's a lot of benefit. So if the science backs it up, what are the practical steps? How do you actually, incorporate more good news into your life?
Well, the research points to a few key strategies. First, consciously decrease your intake of major media bad news. Doesn't mean burying your head in the sand, but maybe limiting exposure.
Okay. Less doom scrolling.
Exactly. Also, try to reduce time spent with relentlessly negative people if possible. That drains you too.
Makes sense. What else?
Actively increase your awareness of good news, seek it out, understand the positive impact it can have, and crucially, try to form a daily habit of taking in some positive input.
A daily habit, like brushing your teeth.
Sort of. And it helps to recognize the difference between what Hal Urban calls big news and little news.
Big news versus little news.
Yeah. Big news is, major life events, beating cancer, getting that huge promotion, amazing stuff. But little news is the everyday good stuff. A nice call from a friend, a genuine compliment, finding a great new coffee shop.
The small joys.
Precisely. And Emma Sapala, she's a PhD who wrote about this for Scientific American, points out that we actually tend to have about 3 times more positive experiences than negative ones each day.
3 times more.
Yeah, we just don't notice them or give them weight. But she says simply talking about those small positive things significantly boosts your well-being. It's about noticing and amplifying those little wins.
That's fascinating. It connects back to that good in, good out idea you mentioned earlier, right? Like
Yeah.
a modern spin on garbage in, garbage out.
Exactly. Your mind is like this incredible processor. You put good stuff in good thoughts, positive information, gratitude, and you tend to get good output in your life. Better mood, better choices, more resilience.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
But, consciously changing your mindset, retraining your brain, that sounds hard, especially if you're facing real difficulties. How do people actually do that?
It's definitely a practice, not a switch you flip. But the mind as a garden analogy is really helpful here. You know the saying, your mind is like a garden. Your thoughts are the seeds. You can grow flowers, or you can grow weeds.
I've heard that, yeah.
It emphasizes that it requires constant tending. You have to consciously choose healthy seeds, positive thoughts, good inputs, and pull out the weeds of negativity. It takes effort.
So effort and choice.
Absolutely. And that brings us to this incredible story Hal shares about his college classmate, Bruce Diaso.
Okay, tell me about Bruce.
Bruce had contracted polio severely. He was in a wheelchair, couldn't move his arms or legs, really significant physical challenges.
Wow, that's incredibly tough.
Immensely. Yet everyone around him was just amazed by his positivity. His attitude was incredible.
How did he maintain that?
Well, it wasn't always like that. His doctor actually challenged him at one point, said something like, Bruce, change your attitude, change your life. Bruce realized he'd been poisoning his own mind with self-pity and anger.
A tough realization.
Yeah, but then he found what he called his two magic words, thankfulness and opportunity.
Thankfulness and opportunity.
He consciously trained himself every day to focus on what he did have: a loving family, friends, his intelligence, education, his faith, freedom, all the non-physical things. And he actively looked for opportunities each day, opportunities to learn, to connect, to contribute, to nourish his mind.
So he shifted his focus completely.
Completely. And that shift in attitude, which was his choice, led him to graduate with highest honors, become a really successful attorney, a philanthropist. It's just this powerful testament that attitude really is your control center. You choose it even when circumstances are brutal.
It's incredibly inspiring. And it really highlights that idea of thankfulness.
It does, and the research backs it up strongly. Harvard Health Publishing had this headline, "Giving thanks can make you happier." Simple as that.
Can't argue with Harvard, right?
Right. Their research and work by Dr. Robert Emmons and Dr. Michael McCullough consistently links gratitude to greater happiness, more positive emotions, better health, dealing with adversity better, stronger relationships. The benefits are huge.
So how do you cultivate more gratitude, practically speaking?
Well, one really powerful finding came from Dr. Martin Seligman's research. He had people write a letter of appreciation, a real thank you letter, to someone who'd made a positive difference in their life.
Okay, writing a letter.
But here's the key part. They had to deliver it in person and read it aloud.
Oh, wow. That takes courage.
It does. But the result, he called it a huge surge in happiness for the person writing the letter. And obviously it was incredibly moving for the person receiving it. A total win-win.
That's beautiful. What about simpler things, maybe daily practices?
Lots of options. Sending handwritten thank you notes, people rarely do that anymore. It means a lot. Keeping a gratitude journal, even for just 21 days, can start to rewire your brain.
21 days to form a habit.
Right. That's the idea. Praying or meditating, focusing specifically on things you feel joyful about, putting a gratitude quote somewhere you'll see it first thing, like your nightstand. Actively looking for the good around you during the day.
Like scanning for positives instead of negatives.
Exactly. Even just walking through your home and consciously appreciating the things you own, things you usually take for granted. Or carrying a little reminder in your pocket. Hal mentions a Moda'ani coin, which is a Jewish token of gratitude. Or just a simple thank rock, something physical to prompt you.
A thank rock. I like that. It reminds me of that challenge you mentioned earlier, the Bruce Diaso challenge.
Yes. Go 24 hours without complaining.
Hal says most people fail, like really quickly.
It's surprisingly hard. I know I've tried it, and yeah, it reveals how ingrained complaining can be.
Totally. And as Zig Ziglar and Maya Angelou pointed out, complaining doesn't really achieve anything, right? It just bores people and solves nothing.
Pretty much. So the opposite of complaining is...
expressing thanks.
Exactly. Hal even has this exercise, draw 4 columns. Things you own, things in your community you appreciate, people who've positively influenced you, and intangibles like freedom, love, health. Just listing them out can be a powerful way to boost appreciation.
That's a great practical tool. Shifting gears slightly, but related,
Yeah.
you mentioned Bruce Diasso's focus on friends and family. How important is social connection in this whole picture?
Oh, profoundly important. It's a huge piece of the puzzle. Think about Gary's story.
Who's Gary?
He was a new student, feeling lost, but his high school classmates just welcomed him with open arms, made him feel like he belonged. Their kindness really helped him heal and find success. He even inspired them. They started greeting each other by saying, "Hello, good news."
Hello, good news.
That's fantastic.
Isn't it? Just shows the power of that welcoming spirit.
And the research really backs this up too, doesn't it? The importance of friendship.
Overwhelmingly, the Mayo Clinic puts it plainly, friendships enrich your life and improve your health. Emily Son wrote in the Washington Post about how data increasingly shows having people who care about you is just fundamentally good for you.
And Sean Aker, in The Happiness Advantage, talks about social investment, right?
Yes, his principle is basically that we achieve the most success, not alone, but with the help and support of others. Investing in those relationships is key.
Is there a biological reason why connection feels so good?
There is. When you make a positive social connection, your brain releases oxytocin.
The love hormone. That's the one. It immediately reduces anxiety, helps you focus, and it actually bolsters your immune system and cardiovascular system over time.
Wow. So friendships are literally good for your heart.
Literally. And conversely, loneliness is incredibly detrimental. Dr. John Cacioppo's research at the University of Chicago found that chronic loneliness can be as deadly as some diseases.
As deadly as diseases. That's stark.
It is. And think about the Harvard study of adult development. They followed people for over 70 years. Their main conclusion: good relationships matter more than anything else in the world for long-term health and happiness.
More than anything else.
More than fame, wealth, career success.
Ah.
It comes down to connection. Hal tells this lovely story about an Egyptian guide named Mufid Mansour, who just had this simple, timeless wisdom. Nothing is more precious than friendship.
Simple but profound. So, okay, we need positive input, we need gratitude, we need connection. What does this mean for how we interact with others?
It leads to this idea of becoming a life enhancer.
A life enhancer.
Yeah, someone who consistently makes life better for the people around them. Someone who, as Hal puts it, adds sparkle to the meaning of life for others. He shares the story of Tim Hansel, whose parents had a family mission statement.
A family mission statement. Cool. What was it?
Always have something good to say.
Always have something good to say. Simple, powerful.
Right. And you see this kind of wisdom echoed across different faiths and philosophies. Ephesians 4.29 in the Bible advises speaking only what's helpful for building others up. Quran 17.53 says to speak that which is kindest.
So it's a universal principle.
Absolutely. You don't have to be religious to practice it. It's about choosing kindness. And even quiet people, introverts, can be huge life enhancers. Hal mentions his own mother. She wasn't outgoing, but her genuine interest in others, her kind words, made a huge difference.
It's not about being loud. It's about being genuine.
Exactly. Michelle Gielan, who wrote Broadcasting Happiness, she has great advice. Start every communication, email, phone call, conversation with something positive. Just set that positive tone right away.
That makes sense. Like Hal changing his greeting.
Yeah. Instead of the automatic, "Hi, how are you? Fine," routine.
Which feels totally meaningless most of the time.
Right. He started saying to students, "I was good, but I'm a lot better now that I've seen you."
Oh, that's nice.
It is. And he said it created this little moment, a genuine positive exchange, a simple win-win.
It all seems to come back to these small conscious choices, which raises one last point. How you start your day. Does that matter?
Hugely. Elise Santilli wrote, "Your first thoughts in the morning can have a huge impact on your whole day, your attitude, your energy."
So setting the right tone early is key.
Definitely. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and philosopher, advised starting the day by thinking what a privilege it is just to be alive, to think, to enjoy, to love. The practical tip, put positive reminders where you'll see them first thing.
Like those gratitude quotes or pocket reminders.
Exactly. Pictures, quotes, meaningful objects, put them by your bed, on your bathroom mirror. Just something to set a positive tone for your mind right at the outset. Because remember, kind words, positive thoughts, they have endless echoes. And what we praise, we tend to increase.
Wow. Okay. So much to think about here. We've covered a lot, from the negativity bias to the power of choice, gratitude, connection.
It really boils down to that core idea. You are what you feed your mind.
And that mind is like a garden. We have the power to choose whether we cultivate flowers or weeds.
That's the essence of it. So the encouragement for you listening is to really try applying these things. Stand guard at the door of your mind. Practice gratitude even in small ways every day.
Nurture those friendships, those connections. They matter more than we often realize.
And make that conscious choice to be a life enhancer for the people you interact with. Add a little sparkle.
If you're looking for more sources of good news, specific places to find it, check out websites like the Good News Network, gnn.org, or worldsbestnews.org.
Great resources. And don't forget the classics, the oldies but goodies, sources of good news Hal mentions. Reading inspiring books, spending time with positive people, nurturing your faith if you have one, committing to lifelong learning.
Getting outside, music, exercise.
And maybe one of the most powerful, helping others. That almost always generates good feelings.
Absolutely. So we want to leave you with a final thought to chew on, building on something Mother Teresa famously said.
Her wisdom was, let no one ever come to you without leaving better and happier.
So the challenge for you today is this. How will you choose to be good news to someone else? How will you make someone leave your presence feeling just a little bit better, a little bit happier?